with that said, let's dive into all the problems with the church. This is
All
going
of
to be a
them.
5-hour podcast, and so
Yeah.
we only have a little bit of
Yeah.
time left. But where do you want to start?
Oh my gosh. So I just want to say, first of all, we don't have enough time. There are so many problems that I see with the church for different reasons and different layers and whatever. So I used to travel and speak all over internationally. People would fly me out for conferences or whatever, and I would be speaking in their churches, and I started noticing the same problem repeatedly. People would come up to me and ask for prayer, and this avatar in front of me, it's the same person no matter what the culture was. Christianity was producing a certain kind of person. These people were dependent, they were needy, they were powerless, usually like in a pretty desperate state, and someone else had access to the answers they needed. Someone else had the connection to God that they didn't, that was keeping them from getting the results they wanted. And I was like, this is not producing what I anticipated when I signed up for this gig. This is definitely not what I see Jesus talking about in the Bible. Something's wrong. Like, we have created a system, forget theology, just like the way the church structure works, we have created a bunch of spectators who have been indoctrinated and conditioned to be passive and to observe other people, the special on the stage elite, few, doing the stuff that matters. The rest of the people in the room, the majority of the congregants, are there to give money and be dependent on the small few decision makers who move and shake what's actually going on and is exciting about being part of the faith. I was like, this is not it. Something's wrong. So it wasn't even about theology. That was just structure. The structure itself, I'm like, this is problematic. Having one person talking to everyone else, everyone's facing the same direction, they're all listening to this one. That's a problem. The whole groupthink, the moment you think something different than the rest of the group has decided you're supposed to think, you become an outsider. It sounds like your friends were a lot more tolerant and permissive for you, but I was getting,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was getting.
sorry, go ahead.
No, good.
Everyone that I think when I said when we had gay jokes and racist jokes, I think it was just idiot teenagers in the early '90s that you're in this children of immigrants from Europe community, and these things are propagated on TV and movies, and you're kind of just repeating them. And it's not till you're maybe in your mid 20s to 30s when you're like, oh, that was all terrible. We shouldn't have been doing any of that. Yeah. But and now all of my friends would agree with me. So I was lucky the people I was surrounded with were open-minded to be like, okay, they're more religious. I'm not. We love each other, and so I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, totally love that. That's awesome. That wasn't my experience.
Sure.
And so there's also a strong, and the thing is, to use this word is probably going to sound politicized, and people who are in this culture will defend themselves against it because it's so horrible. But Christianity has a supremacist culture. Genuinely, you believe.
Preach.
Yeah, you believe you are better than everyone else. You would not say it like that. But the actual value you hold in your heart is you are God's chosen. You might use the word elect, predestined, maybe. Some of them wouldn't, right? But you are called by God. You've seen the light. You got saved. It was revealed to you.
Right. And you're called to save other people. And who saves other people? Heroes. So you're now the hero of this ridiculous story.
Right. So yeah, you become part of the savior mechanism that Christianity is offering to this depraved world of a bunch of losers who don't know any better, right?
Right.
And so you genuinely do perceive other people who don't know Jesus or aren't saved as debased in their mind. They might be intelligent or educated, but they're deceived, right? And so whatever they have to offer is actually stunted. It's limited. It's
right
down there. Christians, it doesn't matter what your background is or your level of experience or expertise or how much energy and effort you've put into actually knowing what you're talking about. If you're saved, we're going to listen to you more because you're part of us. You know God. You're part of the in-crowd, spiritually elite, enlightened group or whatever. No one says it like this, right? I'm using this language on purpose to confront that. But when you're in it, you don't think about it that way. You don't believe. Right. You don't think that that's what you're doing.
It's inherent.
It's built in, right? But I'm when I started stepping away and experiencing the consequence of that kind of ecosystem that I was part of and started stepping out of, I'm this is horrible. And I got to be very explicit about what it was like because it was in me. I specifically noticed it when I would start when I got on the apps and started talking to other gay men and started actually dating other guys, the indignation and the elitist attitude that was coming up in me judging them for the things they were talking about, they wanted to do, they were honest about. I'm like,
Wow.
I was like, what is this coming out of me? This is horrible. I was such a supremacist, elitist a-hole in the way that I was judged. I didn't say any of this
That's
to anyone,
fascinating.
but it was in my soul. I'm like, where is this coming? And I had to do some very real work of obviously first just getting honest with myself about what's there, and then
Right.
like undoing this. Like, why do I think it's okay to think about this? Think about people like this. This is not okay. And it took work to find where this came from and why, and then like dismantle that, right? And I'm still getting to like do that work, but it's entrenched. Like Christians believe they're better than everyone else. And it's probably not unique to Christianity, but like that kind of dynamic just fosters that type of worldview, and it's not helpful.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of groupthink. Like you can take any of the big religions, and you end up falling on that side. Like Jews are the chosen one. Islam, if you leave, you're an apostate. Like all of these things is the heart driven through a lot of at least the Abrahamic religions. Like I don't believe Mormons or Buddhists. I don't believe they have this sort of idea, but the ones that came from, the olden days books, then like those are the ones that are like, this is our team. The other teams all suck.
No, I think actually Mormons are on that side. They do have like a strong.
Oh, really? But they have
yeah.
a better sense of humor, maybe. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's a big problem. I think the way that leaders are, like the way you're taught to relate to like authority figures within Christian culture is like very concerning. It's disempowering. You're being groomed to be vulnerable to predatory behavior. It's easy to be taken advantage of in that space. So anybody who starts calling that out or confronting that or not subjecting themselves to it anymore is seen as, we might use the word apostate. No one would use that word anymore, but you were treated as such. Like, whoa, you don't belong here. You're a rebellious person. You have a Jezebel spirit. They have lots of ways of labeling and tagging you for why you don't belong anymore.
So you used the word groomer for a second.
Yeah.
And I hear Christians use it a lot in the States right now by putting it all on Democrats to dehumanize them and to say, oh, you're a groomer. You're trying to introduce them to homosexual culture and the homosexual agenda, whatever nonsense they're saying. And do you find it interesting, if not infuriating, that they're using that term when Christians themselves are like very obviously grooming children to become more Christian and to do all of these things and to devalue and to debase themselves and all of these things?
Yeah, it is infuriating. It's so hypocritical. It's such a double standard. I mean, if I think about it long enough, I could get very upset and want to break things. It's absurd.
Right.
It's absurd.
There's a lot of rage rooms in the States right now, so you could go and let it fly.
Yeah, I've got a lot of material I could take with me into one of those rooms and get some work done. But yeah, it's like unbelievable just to see adults deranged in this way, and like the hypocrisy of like what they're using to accuse people they don't agree with, when they're actually the ones who are doing what they're accusing them of. Like, you're the one doing this. This is crazy. Anyway, so
because I think we're about kids. It's somewhere on here, but I think the idea is that like to me it really is training kids for this idea of magical thinking and lazy thinking, because it's showing the world is all about God. If you're confused about something, it's because God said this, and it really does breed in this hypocrisy to have people think inherently that what I believe is true and like facts don't matter at all. It's just it really is just what I believe, and I think we're seeing the consequences of that play out in a really horrific way in social media, in like experts don't matter anymore, like all of these things, because you're like, no, God will help my immune system. I don't need experts to tell me how to do this or how to eat right or any of these things. So I know I see it draped through all of the U.S. for sure, but Christianity in general. And so I think that's why like I love that there are at least people like you that if you're going to stay committed to the idea of a personal God and all these things, that at least I'd be happy to see a whole bunch of, I don't even call them Christians anymore, but like believers in God that are like, yeah, we still want a relationship with this supernatural being that we believe in. However, this material world is made up of some objective facts that perhaps we should follow, and we can't always put it on this supernatural being. Like I like the evolution of where you're going. Like again, where you're gonna end up, who knows? But I don't know.